Okay, so we're looking now at creating safety within the group. And as we begin our journey together, individually and as a group, it's really important to establish agreements on how we interact with each other, how we listen, how we share. And when we create these agreements together, we begin a process of bonding. And more importantly, or more interestingly, at the time that we are creating these together, we can already begin to understand how important it is for our growth to be part of a group. A group is always a microcosm that is put in place, particularly in a transformational course. It's put in place to support us, to mirror and challenge us, to forgive us, to laugh with us, and to cry with us. So we're looking now at what agreements might look like, which agreements might be important to put into place. So confidentiality, of course, number one, that whatever we talk about within the group does not get shared with anyone outside the group. And what someone talks to you outside the group, who is also in the group, please make sure that you keep the confidentiality within that pair that you were holding. That definitely, we don't want to breach any trust. And once someone hears that something that they said in confidentiality gets shared with someone else, and that is really hard to connect the bond again. So respect for individual perspectives. We all, because of our different experiences, our different backgrounds, our different personalities, our strengths, we have different perspectives. And that's completely okay. There's nothing wrong with anybody's perspective, particularly because that's what they hold as a value for them, maybe. That's how they see the world because of how they are made, because of how they are. It doesn't mean that we can't grow, because when someone says, well, that's just the way I am, well, deep within our hearts, we might really believe that, and eventually through the process of transformation, of really looking deep inside, we realize that's not maybe the whole truth, and it needs to feel safe also to begin to make this process if we choose to. So how will you show up, and more importantly, when something triggers you, as it definitely will, how can you hold yourself accountable? That might mean to say, I made a mistake, or is it okay that we don't agree because I really believe that my perspective is okay for me, and I believe that your perspective is okay for you. Holding ourselves accountable might also mean that we apologize for something. We can also say, this is how I feel. It really hurts. I feel a lot of shame. It's just sharing everything that we truthfully are feeling. And everyone's share might be different, where someone might share everything that's on their mind, everything that they feel. Someone else needs time to build up to something like that, or they might always be a bit more protective, and that's perfectly okay. This is something that we respect in everyone. So the other thing is asking, how would you like the group to support you in your accountability? What would you like us to say, or maybe a gesture, something to show you that we are we're supporting you in being accountable. This is not pointing fingers, this is not judging. And yes, we are human, we will be judging, but to take a step back and realize that that's not the best way to support someone. And if once we are being judged, then our defenses go up, and then it's really hard to share and be truthful and open. Okay, so vulnerability. I mentioned a little bit already about sharing, that vulnerability creates trust. So when I am open and vulnerable to you, you feel, because of our mirroring neurons, interestingly enough, you feel that it's okay for you to be open and share and be vulnerable with me. And again, everyone's limit or level of vulnerability might be different. And what would be really great to agree on is that every time we come back into the group, or even if you're meeting up outside in some kind of social media, that you choose to be, or to the best of your ability, be 10% more vulnerable every time you meet with your group, or every time you meet with someone that you might be pairing up with. So, and support. What do you need from me to feel safe in order to be vulnerable within the group, and with myself if you're talking to me individually? And another question, what do you need from the group to feel safe? And what do you need from yourself? So this might look like, I would like respect for what I say, to not be laughed at. I would like that if you're not clear about what I've said, to please ask questions so that we don't have any misunderstandings. If I share deeply, it really helps me to be open when you are also sharing. If I share, it's almost like getting undressed a bit, or maybe getting undressed. And if no one else has anything to share, then it's hard for me to think that you are as invested in your growth within the group as I might be. Now, I understand that that is a judgment, but if we choose to commit to a transformational course, and we choose to commit to our growth, then being invested in the conversation, in the dialogue, being invested in supporting and asking for support, or letting yourself be supported. And this again is a process. This is not something that happens immediately with lots of people. It might be different for some people, but this is a process, and everything is okay. Everything that we show is okay. Everything that we hold back is okay. Just knowing that we are beginning the process, and what we agree on, we might even come back to and say, I think this agreement isn't quite where we want it to be. How can we strengthen it more? Or how can we change it or tweak it so that it fits with the group a little bit more? Okay, how do we show up, or how do we show support, sorry. A lot of times when someone is sharing, it often brings up a lot of emotion. So one way that we support is by holding the space. If someone has asked for support in that, when I cry, please come and hold me. If anyone agrees that that's okay for them to do, then that could be a way of supporting. What I like to have, even though we don't see this very often, is I like to have my space to be able to feel what I'm feeling and to cry, because often if someone comes up to me, my my flow, my process is a bit blocked or might be blocked altogether. So we don't want to block anybody's process. So I find it really important, and we can certainly discuss this about how everybody else feels, to give space to that, to maybe put a hand on your heart to show support quietly. You could bring a Kleenex if you see that somebody doesn't have a Kleenex and they're crying. Sometimes someone might start to hum as a way of comforting. And we can talk about this every time there is a situation like this. We can say, how was that for you? How did this support you? Or how did this not support you? And how can we put something else in place? How can we know what will help you? So I would like to do a short visualization with what is it that helps us feel safe. So if you want to close your eyes, or if you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, just look lightly down at the floor. And I would like you to bring up an image of someone who exudes safety for you. Someone who exudes support, love, whatever it is that you need to feel safe. It could be a character that you saw in a film. It could be someone that you know. It could be someone that you've seen and you just feel like their face exudes safety and caring and support. Could be a superhero. It could even be the Dalai Lama. Just go ahead and find an image. And if you don't see, if you're not able to bring up an image, there's nothing wrong with that. Just maybe think about or see if you can conjure up something that if you could see someone's face, who would it be? And a name is okay too. Now, what happens when you have their image in front of you? How do you feel? Where do you feel this in your body? If you feel like you are loved or held, where do you feel that in your body? And it could be that you have not had any good experiences of this, and that's perfectly fine. And let's be open to the possibility of, if you could have this, what would it feel like for you? And where would you feel it in your body? And what does it feel like? Does it feel loose? Does it feel tight? Does it feel soft? Is there a temperature that you notice? Is it something that stays in one place, or is it something that rises within you? Is there a color that you see? Is there a shape that you see? Everything is okay, whatever comes up for you. There's no right or wrong about doing this, or what you see, or what you come up with. Does this make you feel also maybe protective or supportive or loving towards others? And if not, again, that's perfectly okay. Whatever comes up for you. And what if you then think about bringing this support, this care and love to someone else? How do you imagine that they feel when they think that you have their back? What does that feel like to have somebody's back, to support someone, to be there for someone? And sometimes this is, because of experiences we've had, this is something or a feeling that we might need to cultivate a little bit. We might need to grow it. And if for any reason you feel unsafe doing the visualization that we do in the group, or even this visualization or contemplation, if there's any reason you begin to feel unsafe, it's okay for you to step out of the visualization, step out of the contemplation, and take care of yourself. You are the expert who knows what is good for you. And it could be that this isn't the time yet to open up. It could be that you are feeling a bit threatened and saying to yourself, but I'm okay here, I'm okay. I'm going to look a little bit deeper. And if you choose not to, that's perfectly okay. So I'd like you to take one deep inhale and hold just for 4 seconds. And then exhale, either through your mouth or through your nose. Take another deep inhale. And exhale. And if you've had your eyes closed, just very slowly open them and first let them fall on the ground. And then slowly bring your gaze back up. And we can now begin a discussion about which agreements we want to have in our group.